Welcome to Onslow County Today. I'm your host, Lisa Whitman-Grice, and we have a wonderful array of guests for you today. We're going to be talking with Harry Smith from the Onslow County Tax Office. We'll also be visiting with Robin Seitz talking about fair time. And finally, we're going to find about the innovative and creative solutions that are being conducted at our Onslow County Solid Waste Department with their director, Scott Bost. Thank you as always for visiting us at Onslow County Today. Welcome back to Onslow County Today, and joining us now is Harry Smith, Onslow County Tax Administrator with the Onslow County Tax Office. Harry, we're so glad to have you back.
Thank you, Lisa. It's good to be here.
Now, it is that time of year when people have probably gotten some mail from you. Tell us a little bit about what has happened in just the last few weeks.
Okay. In the middle of July, we mailed our tax bills out, and of course, that's something that's an annual process. We sent out around 79,000 real estate bills and around 15,000 personal property bills.
Okay, and as folks have been receiving those notes, they might have some questions. And so we want to address kind of those top issues that you sometimes face this time of the year.
Okay, well, first off, let me start out by saying we have already begun to receive some of that mail back to our office, which is always an annual process in itself. So if someone has real estate or personal property and did not receive a bill, they probably need to contact our office and let us know so that we can check their mailing address, make sure we have a good address on file, and we can send them another statement so that they have that and don't have to panic at the end of the year when they're trying to find it and don't have it when it's time to pay it.
So first and foremost, they should have received it. If you have not received it, they should contact your office.
That's correct.
Okay. Secondly, you're getting mail back, but also there's the challenge of people who are now preparing to pay, and you've had some changes.
That's right. Since we mailed bills last year, we have moved into our new office on the second floor of the Onslow County Government Center out at Burton Park. So we're no longer located at 39 Tallman Street, downtown Jacksonville. And we obviously would love to take this opportunity to make sure that people know that we have moved so that they don't go downtown looking for us. And also, when they mail their payments in, it's very important to make sure that they send it to the new address, which is 234 Northwest Corridor Boulevard in Jacksonville. And
to give people a little bit better idea, if they're not familiar with the Burton Park, please share with them where your offices are physically.
Okay. The new government complex is at 234 Northwest Corridor Boulevard in Burton Park, which is around 3 miles west of Jacksonville. You turn right at Tar Landing Baptist Church, which is right across from Pony Farm Road.
Okay.
And we're about a half mile down on the right-hand side, and we're in the second floor of that building.
All right, and there's great folks at the front desk who can direct you, and 2, terrific signage on the highway itself.
Right. So
okay.
It should be easy to find.
All right. Third issue that you sometimes face is how people might pay other than if they were to physically bring you their payment.
Okay, obviously the easiest way is to just use the payment coupon, which is at the bottom of the bill. It has our address here at the new building. Just mail a check in. That's the easiest way to pay. There are also instructions on the bill on how to pay online if they would prefer to pay with a credit card or debit card. There's a website that they can go and just look up their bill and make an online payment. And there is a shopping cart type feature with that now, so if you have multiple bills, you can just continue adding those to the cart and just make one transaction to pay as many bills as you would like.
When people do that, I think sometimes people say, oh, I'm always funny about paying for things online, but talk a little bit about the security measures that are around that.
Well, obviously, the vendor that we use is compliant. All the security things are in place. You cannot log on and without having your information to look up your bill, but everything is secure.
Very good. Is there anything else before we kind of lead into a couple more questions that you want to add about this first step of the process?
Well, one thing, going back to the mailing address, we do have an issue, seems like every year, with people who use the online bill pay service from their financial institutions. And it's really easy to just go in there and click the button and make the payment. But one of the things that people need to stop and realize is verify that the address that you have set up for that payment to go to is our new correct mailing address. Otherwise, it's likely that the check may not be received on time, and would accrue interest charges because we have to deem it paid as the date that we received it in the office or the postmark. And another thing, those bill pay checks typically do not have postmarks on there, so even if you're using a bill pay service, generally most financial institution websites tell you that it takes 5 to 7 days for that payment to be processed, and a lot of folks go and click the button and think it's instantaneous, but it's really not. So it needs to be processed several days ahead of time in order for it to reach us on time.
Okay, so that routing process
Right.
is sometimes an issue. And you mentioned the deadline, so we probably should address that as well.
Okay, annual property tax bills, as we said, they were mailed in July. By statutory due date is September 1st, but they do not become delinquent until January the 6th. So taxpayers have until January the 5th to have those payments in order to avoid any type of interest charges.
Okay, so went out in July, September 1st, and then they have until January 5th, but don't wait until January 5th because of the routing process.
That's correct.
All right. Well, Harry, is there anything before we close that you want to remind our viewers about in terms of the tax office?
Well, also there's a lot of information on the back of the bill that talks about the mailing address. It also has information on there about the tax process. This is also the time during the year that taxpayers may appeal their personal property value. Unlike real estate, personal property bills also serve as the taxpayer's notice of what the assessed value is. And they have 30 days from the bill date, which is August the 1st. So basically the entire month of August, taxpayers who have personal property can appeal those values. Now, real estate works a little bit different. The statutory time frame for appealing real estate values is in the spring of the year, prior to the Board of Equalization and Review adjourning. So those appeals, it's past the deadline to appeal real estate this year, but taxpayers can come back next year and appeal the real estate value if they don't feel like it's fair or request review.
Well, we've addressed calendar, time frame, the payment process, your new address, and of course the appeals process. But if you have a terrific staff in your office who can answer any of these questions, if folks have anything lingering that they might want to know about, what is the main number, the best number that they can reach you?
Well, the main number is 989-2200. If they have some question particularly about the bill or the collections process, they can call our collections division at 989-2202. Okay,
and of course they can always go to the county website to find out any additional details.
Right, absolutely, and we look eager to answer any questions and walk citizens through the process if they have any questions or concerns.
Well, Harry, we always thank you for coming in this time of year, sharing this with our audience. As we close out, is there anything else you'd remind them regarding your address? Just one more time.
Yeah, please check your mailing address if you're using bill pay, and also please make sure that when you send your payment in that you're sending it to our new address at 234 Northwest Corridor Boulevard. And also if you're visiting in person, please come to 234 Northwest Corridor Boulevard.
Don't go back to Tallman Street.
It may not be there.
There's no one there. Okay. Harry, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Onslow County Today. It's still pretty warm outside, but it's time to already start thinking about the Onslow County Fair. And joining us now is Robin Seitz with Onslow County Cooperative Extension to tell us all about it. Robin, welcome back.
Thank you for having me, Lisa.
Now, we've all been working in our gardens or going to the farmer's market and enjoying that beach time, but it's really time to start preparing for the annual Onslow County Fair, and you're here to tell us about what's going on. So the first thing first, when is the fair?
The fair starts September 28th. That's a Monday. That's the day that we will be taking entries to the fair, and runs through that Saturday, which is October 3rd.
Now, you know, my favorite part of the fair is walking through all the exhibits that you all work so hard to do. So we want to talk about how people can be part of that educational component and be part of those entries that Cooperative Extension really so beautifully does every year. And the first thing we want to tell people about is what kind of categories, What can I bring to the fair, Robin?
Well, basically, we have a category to anything that you handcraft or hand make, you can bring to the fair. We will find a category or a place to put it. We do tell people, make sure you don't bring several things that fit into the same category, because we don't, we really don't want you competing with yourself.
Right.
You don't want to do that either. But we have categories for crafts, including sewing, home furnishings, quilting. We have some beautiful quilts that come in every year. Knitting, crocheting, any of those things. We also have culinary categories that include your home food preservation, canning, and we have baking products. People bring in their homemade pound cakes and things like that. And basically anything that you grow also in your garden, anything that's coming off in the garden at that time, you can bring in. We have people that still have tomatoes coming off and those kind of things. We have several categories. Your county fair book will be coming in the mail.
Okay.
And if it doesn't come to your house in the mail, you can pick them up at any of the Onslow County libraries, or you can come by the extension office and pick up one.
I want to kind of go back to each of the categories so we can talk about them in a little bit more detail, because when people decide that they want to enter something, as you say, one, they don't want to bring duplicates in the same category, but they also want to make sure that it's presented in the best possible way as the judges review things. So let's start with, things like the textiles, the needlework, the quilts. What do they need to do in terms of preparing them to bring them in? Should they be bagged? Should they be laundered? What do you recommend?
We do have bags available, but if you want to bag something in your own bags to bring them in, you do want to make sure that you protect them. The fair is held out at the National Guard place, and then it's an open building, so there may be some dust and things like that, so you don't want it to get soiled. We will suggest that you bag it if you bring it not bagged, and the judges will take it out to examine it more closely. Things that you have that you would like to frame, we do have places that we can display things that are framed, photographs and things like that. It's not required, it's not judged differently because it is framed. But unless the frame is what you're trying to have us judge, we do ask that it be completed within the last year.
Okay, very good.
So we wouldn't want something that people have entered year after year.
I can recall one year going in and seeing the fair, and it's my understanding that one of the photographs that was won was not by any kind of super duper fancy expensive camera, but how was that photograph taken?
It was a cell phone photograph. I know the one you're talking about. It was a bird sitting on a sign at the beach. And the person just snapped the photo because they thought it was funny. It was something about the birds, feeding the birds or something. And he was like, and the bird looked really kind of angry at the sign. And the person just thought it was a funny thing to take on their cell phone. And then they had it printed, and it just turned out so wonderful. So the technology that's available today, cell phone pictures, if you can have them printed, that's a great
it was beautiful
option.
And really sharp. So we've got needlework, we've got textiles. I want to make sure everything is perhaps wrapped up and it will be protected when it's on there, and everybody gets a tag to help them redeem theirs at the end of the week. And then we've got preserved goods, canned goods, pickled goods. And again, a beautiful array, but you want to make sure, because people are going to be trying everything, that it is presented properly.
The jars will be opened. Some of the canned goods, like your vegetables and things like that, we don't end up opening those. They may be opened if the judges have a question about them, the quality or something like that. But all of the criteria is in the fair book for each category, and we encourage you, if you're going to enter in the category, read the instructions, make sure you know what you're doing. For canned goods, we do ask for a label that tells the process that was used, either boiling water bath or pressure canned, and the time that it was processed for. And that just helps us to make sure that it was processed using an approved recipe.
Very good. And the best part about it is people are canning things now in preparation for not just the fair, but in general. And at your office, you have all of those great instructions to make sure it is done correctly.
We do, absolutely. If someone would like to know how to properly can, we can help them with that. We can point them towards resources, or we can share our resources with them. But we also have the criteria that they need to meet for the fair. You know, if they just want to give me a call, I can email them, or I can print them out and let them take those instructions so that they know that they're doing it with an eye toward entering the fair.
Very good. So all of those wonderful entries get brought in on Monday. But if you've entered something, you probably shouldn't show up Monday night to see if you've got a prize.
Absolutely. Judging is held on Tuesday morning when the fair is not open, and it's a closed session. We don't advertise who our judges are,
Right.
and for their privacy. And so anytime after the fair opens on Tuesday through Saturday, you could go and find your product and see. Now there are barricades, so you're not going to be able to take your ribbon at that time. You're going to have to come back on the following Monday morning and pick up your prize and your product if it's still in good condition. Which brings me to another point.
Right.
We don't have refrigeration at the fair, so we don't ask that you bring anything that requires refrigeration. No cream cheese, frostings, or things like that would require refrigeration before our judges get to the judging
Right.
process, because they are going to be out unrefrigerated for that entire time.
Well, and you don't want to come and retrieve your ribbon that first day anyway. You want people to see all week long that you've won.
Right. We do, it's kind of, you can go and point out and say, that's my can of product, but we do discourage people putting their names on
Right.
things, because sometimes our judges know people, and we don't want, anyone to get an unfair advantage or disadvantage because their name is on the product. With artwork, we are equipped to kind of hide signatures and things like that, because
Right.
you sign your artwork, and we know that.
So it is all anonymous, both what is
Absolutely.
entered and then the judge process itself, and then you can go out there and you can see your ribbon throughout the week. Now, the
And
one
that's
thing,
not just the ribbons. I do want to make sure that people know that there is a small premium for every category that is entered. If there's a ribbon on your product, for adults especially, then there is a small premium. They're not huge. You're not going to make $1 million entering into the fair. With the youth, all youth do get ribbons, and there are premiums for first and second place for youth.
all right, excellent. And I'm so glad you said that, because there's quite potentially that premium that you could win. But what is the fee to enter anything into the quilt?
There is no fee for entering into the fair. The premium money comes from the previous year's proceeds from the fair. The
Okay.
JCs run that fair, and they have an account, and that's how they get the money for the premiums, is from receipts at the fair the years before.
Now, we've got all those wonderful entries, but you also have special exhibits or displays throughout that educational arena as well, and those are done by a number of folks, from 4-Hers to the Master Gardeners. Tell us a little bit about those.
Absolutely. We do have several categories of what we call educational exhibits. It is the booth spaces that you probably have seen. You go and it's a booth on recycling or something of that nature, and usually they're very educational. And we have several categories that groups can enter. It's not really something that an individual would want to enter. It's typically groups. But basically it's wide open what topic you want to address. We do ask that they be educational and not just like an advertisement. A church is welcome to have an educational booth, but their booth needs to be educational and not just we hold services on Sundays, or a club that may meet once a month and trying to get membership or
Right.
something. Those are not really the best place for our booths are not the best place for them to do that.
But something that's educational, from, as you said, recycling, forestry management, all of those kind of categories we see.
Right, and all of those booths have a large premium for placing within that category, and we And there are some special categories as well, and those are listed in the fair book as well. Things like, forestry, they give a little bit of extra prize money if your booth focuses on that. And I know Keep Onslow Beautiful in the past has had, for recycling.
Sure, absolutely. Now, we kind of move outside, and there is the animal husbandry arena where, the bunnies and the goats, I mean, we hear them all day long when you go out to the fairgrounds and you're hearing everybody kind of calling back and forth.
It makes it sound like the fair, doesn't it?
It does. That's the fair sound, kind of, think of Charlotte's Web and that kind of feel when you get out to that area. But there has been a change, and this is coming down, not from Onslow County Cooperative Extension, but this comes down from the State Department of Agriculture. Tell us about this really important change.
This is a really important change. One thing we typically will hear is the chickens and the roosters crowing all day long. Well, this year we're not going to be hearing any roosters, and we won't be hearing any chickens, because we do have a ban on birds this year. And the ban is not from us, as you said. It's not from the Fair Committee. It's not from Cooperative Extension in Onslow County. It's from the Commissioner of Agriculture. This ban has come down as a precaution against avian flu. Okay. Now, I don't want to get anybody upset. We don't have any avian flu in our domestic bird population, even in the state, even in this part of the country. But we know that there is a problem in the wild bird population, and migratory patterns birds would be migrating during fair season. So there are going to be no birds allowed at the fair this year. No chickens, no ducks, no guinea fowl, none of those birds, no turkeys. Not even going to be, like, we usually have a big turkey show at the state fair. No turkey show this year at state fair either. So if you have birds, you are asked to keep them on your property in your little nest until the end of the year. The ban goes through December 31st.
Okay, so August 1 to
August 1 to December 31st.
Okay, so no birds this year.
No birds this year.
But if you've got that mini lot bunny,
yes,
bring him out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And again, that is what gives it that wonderful traditional fair atmosphere. I think we found it at the museum that the original Onslow County Fair began in the 1850s.
Wow.
So this is a long-standing tradition.
Absolutely, and we are a recognized agricultural fair. Many fairs have kind of lost that component, but we do try and keep that component, the education and the animals and the canning and those things. We try to keep those things alive because that is our heritage, and that's the fair's not really about the Ferris wheel, but it's fun too.
So it's a combination. So it's the exhibits, it's the sound of the midway, and then of course all the great displays that you all have. Robin, for anybody who has any questions, please give them your main telephone number there at Cooperative Extension so that they can reach you. Okay. Find out more.
We are located first at 4024 Richlands Highway in the county government complex, I think is what they still call it, the multipurpose complex. But our phone number is 910-455-5873, and you can just tell the secretary what your question is, and you will be directed to the agent who can help you. If you have questions about the bird things, you need to call and ask for Valerie Futrell. She's our livestock agent, and she has much more information on this bird ban that has come down. It is a ban on birds in public fairs.
Well, I will tell you, that what Cooperative Extension, and you and I have shared this many, many times, your goal is, your whole mission at Cooperative Extension is to make people's lives better by providing them education and information. And so thank you for taking your time out today to come and share with us about the fair, and we'll all be on the lookouts for our fair books in our mailboxes.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us, and as I said, if you don't get a fair book in the mail, just pop by one of the libraries or call our office, and we'll make sure that you get one.
Absolutely. We'll see you at the fair.
All right.
Welcome back to Onslow County Today, and joining us now is Scott Bost, Onslow County Solid Waste Director. Scott, we're so glad you're here.
Lisa, it's great to be back here with you.
First and foremost, we want to congratulate you because your department and you have been the recipients of two really prestigious and important awards, and we're going to discuss in detail how you came to be the recipients of those rewards, or those awards. So first, tell us both agencies that you received those awards from.
National Association of Counties and International County Management Association.
Okay, so International County Management Association and the National Association of Counties have recognized you and your department for being, the best word that comes to mind is innovative. You have taken something that civilizations have dealt with for really hundreds, perhaps even thousands of years, and that's how to dispose of solid waste, and to do so in an ecologically and economically sustainable manner. Mm-hmm. And you, sir, and your department have been applauded and rewarded for your efforts.
Nationally and internationally.
Nationally and internationally, absolutely. And so, you know, oftentimes we roll our bin out to the curb on Monday morning, and then that's it. And we give very little thought to the process that goes into it. Whereas when you began your career here in Onslow County, that's almost your every thought. So we want to talk about, one, how you came to be here, the support that you've gotten, and those innovative solutions that you found. So begin, Scott, when did you come and join us here in Onslow County?
2010, so I've been here 5 years now.
Okay, and in that 5 years, you have made, and your department has made, tremendous changes. And you know, we always talk about it's so much more than just a landfill. It's so much more than just the place where we take our trash. And so let's begin with what you saw when you came in the door in 2010 and the changes you've seen over the last 5 years. And so take us back a little bit.
Wow, what I saw in 2010 was a solid organization with tons of potential. Mm-hmm. And some of the pieces were there and some needed to be brought on board, and that's what we've done. We put together the pieces that were there and added new pieces through external stakeholders, contractors, and that whole picture together is what has enabled us to be recognized, again, nationally and internationally.
That is phenomenal.
And I do want to say one thing. These awards are for the citizens of Onslow County, and I couldn't have done this without the support of the commissioners and county management, and that's a rare thing these days. So I want to thank those two groups.
Well, you know, when you came in 2010, you used a great analogy about kind of the permission or freedoms you were given by leadership to do what you saw was needed. And tell me that little analogy you used again. They gave you the keys, you said?
I like to say, when I took this position in 2010, they more or less gave me the keys to this big vehicle called the Solid Waste Management Facility on Meadowview Road, and said, it's yours, now you drive it, and don't wreck it. And I don't think we've wrecked, I think we've actually won the race, if you will.
Absolutely, you have run an incredible race, So when you walked in the door, you saw a solid foundation with lots of potential, and you had one challenge that was kind of looming, and that was, you had been told originally, we're running out of space for solid waste disposal. The landfill was running out of room, and your team said, not necessarily. Talk about those solutions.
Landfills are not infinite in their disposal capacity. You have to manage it, because it costs about $500,000 to build 1 acre of landfill these days. And again, it doesn't last forever, so you have to manage the space you have. One of the ways we did that, we ramped up our recycling with a new contractor. And when I took the job in 2010, we were doing about 800 tons a month. Now we're doing over 4,000 tons a month. So we're diverting all that waste from the landfill, which equates to a longer lifespan. But we also have to look at money too. So we'd look at alternative revenue streams. So landfills are an asset to any community. one of the byproducts of landfills is, of course, landfill gas, which is rich in methane, which is a renewable energy source, which is very valuable. So we tapped that source about 3 years ago and have been realizing revenue from that. So that relieves some of the burden on our revenue stream. So altogether, we're lengthening the landfill life while making extra money.
Okay. So you look at other solutions. First and foremost is something that really the citizenry shares in, and that is, we're partners in this. We're partners in expanding the life of the landfill. We're partners in stewardship, in that if we're recycling more and we're reducing our waste more, then that's really working with you, and you're making it easy for us by expanding your recycling facilities.
That's correct.
Okay. Secondly, there are places in which you've capped methane gas has to be burned off anyway, environmentally, and so now you found a revenue stream by then reusing that.
Right.
And then you've also brought in a really cool material that helps us, because one thing you have to do, if anybody's ever visited the landfill or seen pictures, you know that they have to turn the ground and cover it up every day. And rather than just churning up soil and layers upon layers of dirt, you've started using a new material. Tell us a little bit about that.
State regulations require landfills to cover their waste at the end of each day with at least 6 inches of soil. Over time, 6 inches of soil over 40 acres adds up to a lot of airspace, which adds up to us building a new landfill or expanding, which costs money. So we looked at another method of covering the garbage, which is approved by the state. It's called posi-shell. Okay. Instead of 6 inches of soil on the garbage, we spray a very thin layer of concrete over the garbage every day. Okay. And it covers the smell, it covers the waste, it prevents water from getting in. It's cheaper to use than dirt. Dirt is a commodity, very expensive to move it. And at the end of the day, again, the garbage is covered with this concrete shell, if you will. And on the next day, rather than going on top of dirt, which again adds up a lot of airspace, we just go over the posi-shell and it breaks up and disappears. So there's a huge airspace savings. Okay. The initial estimate we had over the life of the landfill from our engineering contractor was we would have a $12 million savings over the life of the landfill by using this.
That's incredible. $12 million, that is incredible. And as you say, it's a material that saves essentially that real estate, that space that it's taking up. And the debris that we're producing here in Onslow County will not decrease because our population is only increasing. So the trash that we're bringing to you is only going to continue to increase over time. So finding that solution. Then, Scott, you have gone from innovative materials, finding a new revenue stream, encouraging and working in educational programming to encourage people to recycle. And most recently, you've introduced yet another opportunity to use all that, what did you say, 40 acres, and that is solar panels. Talk a little bit about this program.
As landfills age and degrade once they're closed, sometimes they will settle out to a very flat surface. So we have a 15-acre closed landfill in the center of our facility that is ideal for solar panels. So we worked with our gas contractor, the one that installed the gas system, to install solar panels on this facility. Again, at no cost to the the county, excuse me. And once they're installed, they'll be another source of revenue. And we hope to see them installed by the end of the year. That
is making so much of something that really people give very little thought to. You drive by. Now you may go out there and drop off your trash if you don't have home pickup service, curbside pickup service, but really that's not something we think about, and yet there's this incredible, and I'm going to call it an engine, if you will, going on out on Meadowview Road. Talk a little bit about how your team has responded to all these changes and upgrades and innovations?
They responded by saying, I can never leave. They're very happy. They're amazed as well as obviously the ward committees. They love the changes. A lot of my team, most of my team are Onslow County natives, and they're very happy to see these changes and innovations come to their home county. And I'm happy to be part of the group with these people. Like I said, these awards are for the county, you know, for the citizens.
You know, there's one component that we didn't address yet, and surprisingly, maybe not to some people, is because you are on this 40-acre site that's somewhat isolated and contained, and you've got a lot of open ground. You have actually become, in your own way, a wildlife refuge. And I would love for people to know what you've seen at that site, because you have also some recognition there as well for what you've done.
We, well, there's several things to talk about there.
Sure.
I always say in my career, if you see wildlife at your facility, then you have a very well-run, clean facility. We have deer, we have foxes, we have seen bear, we have plenty of bald eagles. So it is almost a little wildlife refuge out there. Mm-hmm. Another thing we've done, whenever you expand or whenever you build or do construction of the landfill, and you may encounter wetlands or some areas like that, we've actually put into conservation easements many acres that will never be disturbed, mm-hmm. ever. And we're very happy to do that.
It seems at first to be counterintuitive, because we're thinking about trash and then conservation easement and wildlife refuge, but really what you've done is you're working kind of in concert with your surroundings, aren't you?
Absolutely, you have to. In our business, a lot of people may not understand this, but I think we're the ultimate conservationists. You know, even though we're putting garbage in a hole in the ground, mm-hmm. where would that garbage go?
Right.
You know, years ago, where'd it go? In a creek somewhere, in a ditch. Now it's in a line, well managed, I think, mm-hmm. a facility that does protect the environment. And we do constant monitoring every day, every quarter, every year. And this is a no violation facility. We've seen no violations in years. Actually.
That is incredible. And the other thing is, you know, ultimate testimonial is that you and your team have received this recognition, both internationally and nationally. I'd love for you to just take a minute. I know you've got your notes with you there. Just read the titles, because they sound really lofty. They sound like really lofty goals, if you will.
The National Association of County Award was titled Creating a Holistic Approach to Solid Waste Management Through Innovative Solutions. It is lofty, but also says a lot about what we're doing.
You know, and I think that you really did capture it when you said it's holistic. It's everything. It's from the ground up.
Yep.
It's the people, it's the citizens, and it's the leadership and everyone working together. And then your international award from the County Management Association internationally was very similar in your approach.
It was. It was titled Multi-Sector Collaboration for Alternative Revenue Stream Development and Long-Term Waste Disposal Capacity. And I think the key term there people really need to be concerned about is waste disposal capacity. You want to be in a community where you have plenty of disposal capacity, because
mm-hmm.
if you don't live in a community like that, where does your waste go? They have to truck it out many miles, and your costs increase exponentially. We're so fortunate here through the vision of our leaders, we have disposal capacity for years to come.
You know, I think we probably all have recollections from 10, 15 years ago watching those trash barges from up north, you know, sailing down the coast and trying to find a home.
That's right.
Basically for their trash. And what you've done is created the solution that makes it clean, environmentally friendly, easy for citizens, and revenue bearing, mm-hmm. and ultimately the key is sustainability.
Correct, that's right.
Well, Scott, thank you for taking something that at first we would think, oh, it's just trash. And then it sounds pretty complicated, and then you brought it back to us, and really you've made it that complete story. And I thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, Lisa, I love talking trash with you.
Absolutely. And congratulations on your international and national awards.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
As always, we thank you for joining us for Onslow County Today and our special guest, Harry Smith, Robin Seitz, and Scott Bost. We invite you to visit us at our Onslow County YouTube channel at Onslow County Government, or check us out on Facebook. Remember, it's always a great day to get out and explore your Onslow County today.